Hi, everybody. I'm Markos Moulitsas, Daily Coast, here for the top of the hour update on election night, on what is going on. So, we all wished it was a blowout win, and everybody would be like, yeah, the guy who has 49 criminal convictions and another 70 indictments and rapey and racist and all that stuff. We wish that would be enough to disqualify him and not have half the country support him. But that's not the country we live in. That's just a reality. So, what we're really looking at is what is happening in the battleground states. I have been saying in the last couple updates that Republicans have gained in rural counties. Donald Trump specifically has gained in the rural counties by between 0 and 4 points. On average. We were waiting to see on suburban counties. So we had to see some of these close. And we finally do have suburban counties finishing their vote. Those in Georgia have moved towards the Democrats, towards Kamala Harris by between 4 and 7 points. So we are seeing, it's the only place right now that we're seeing that kind of shift. So the question really becomes, is that going to be enough to offset this increase Republican vote in rural counties? And it's going to depend, obviously, on the raw vote, on those suburban counties, and how many people actually turn out in the big cities, like Atlanta specifically. And there's a data account that did some math, and right now in the raw vote, Donald Trump is winning Georgia by 200,000 votes. Um, if you look at the raw vote that's remaining in Harris friendly counties and also what's remaining in Republican friendly counties, um, the math says about 240,000 net votes for Harris. So obviously that's an extrapolation. It's a guess, and but what it does speak to is that Georgia is very much still in play, and it's going to be close. And I don't know that we thought otherwise. It was always going to be close. North Carolina, Donald Trump has about a 3 point lead at this point. It's looking tough in North Carolina. North Carolina is always looking tough. It always wants to tease us. It's not like Florida that just got away from us. Like North Carolina just kind of hangs there and hovers, but it's still a lot of the vote out. So that's not a done deal. So what we're starting to look at is what is happening in that blue wall, which is what Harris needs. All she needs to win is Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to win the election. And right now, um, vote's still early, about a third counted in all those, and Harris is up 3 to 5 points. Everybody is expecting those to close, but the question, it's the big question of the night is how much extra vote do Democrats get out of the suburbs? How many extra people do they get out of cities like Philadelphia and Detroit and Milwaukee and Madison? So that is sort of the state of play. The Senate looks tough. Ted Cruz won re-election, kind of expected. Uh, Something that maybe wasn't expected or hoped for is Sherrod Brown is looking tough. He's behind in in Ohio, which would be a loss not just for the Senate and the count, but Sherrod Brown is one of the best Democratic senators senators of any kind. So that would be a big loss. On the flip side, a independent candidate named Dan Osborne in Nebraska is looking competitive. It's an odd race. I mean, Nebraska's a deep red state, but Dan Osborne is run as an independent. He would caucus with the Democrats. And Deb Fisher, for reasons that I've never been able to quite figure out, is quite unpopular. And she and the Republicans were sort of caught sleeping, and he's kind of snuck up on her, and he started spending money late, trying to claim he was the Bernie Sanders of Nebraska. And he is surprisingly competitive. The Democratic senators in those blue wall states, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, and in Michigan, all look okay for now. So they were certainly in danger, depending on how strong Republicans ran. So this is still that point of the red mirage part of the night that I talked about, because most of the results right now are rural results, and most of the states that have reported at this point are sort of Republican friendly or historically Republican states. Florida doesn't really help, right? Um, so it does sort of give an, this sort of feeling that, oh my God, Republicans are running up the score, and I promise you, it was a lot worse in 2020. So at this point, it's just about caution, not caution, patience. I caution patience, because there's a lot of votes to be counted, and those votes are mostly going to be counted on friendly turf. So, is there enough outstanding Democratic friendly votes in Georgia? Yes. In North Carolina, I'm less confident about that, but Democrats don't need North Carolina for that to happen. Bad news in Florida. Everything in Florida is bad news. The abortion rights amendment failed. It needed a 60% threshold. It's the highest threshold of any of the states that have had these kinds of amendments. So it was a tough slog to get there. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, really actually used state resources to fight the amendment, and he was successful. And so things are going to get pretty nasty in Florida, unfortunately. So that's going to be challenged. But really, at this point, there was kind of this hope that people like Trump would start losing his base, right? That people would just get tired of it and would get tired of the drama and the chaos and the destruction that he promised. And the reality is that they can't quit him, and there's something fundamentally broken in our country when half the country, that's what appeals to half the country. And I don't want to say, at least at this point, I don't want to say it's racism, sexism against Kamala Harris, because Joe Biden faced the same environment. And so what we're seeing really is that in high education areas, the education divide between Democrats and Republicans is ever more stark than it has ever been before. And so the more educated somebody is in the regions that are educated, cities and suburbs, are heavily Democratic, and increasingly so. And the parts of the country that are lack that education and are more rural, whether they feel alienated about in society, or they don't lack the opportunities, or they feel shut out of the cities and those kind of opportunities. Whatever the reason, they really are. They really they seem to be responding to this kind of fascist message that Republicans and Donald Trump for sure are selling. So that's where we are right now, is rural areas shifting red, suburbs and cities shifting blue. How many votes in each remains to be seen. So that's the update for now. You can go to dailycoast.com to join the discussion and get more updates, or you can just join me here back at the top of the hour. See you then.